All right, I gave Schetzler a call. Okay, not really. So, as teachers, we fantasize sometimes. We're like, what would it be like to teach math or English or history or all these subjects where you can use your notes that you built 20 years ago instead of constantly having these crazy problems that we have. Well, what I really did was just restart my machine. I knew that would reset the port. I was just trying to do something in the middle of the video, and I can't restart the machine in the middle of the video. So we'll see if it worked. But I'm going to put my port back to here in the cores, back to 3000. And when I closed out, it did say, do you want to save some files? That I thought I'd saved everything. And so good on these projects just to do save alls frequently to make sure we've got everything saved. All right, so I'm going to do let's pull up our terminal. And I'm going to do my .NET. What's the command? Remind me. .NET, I have it here somewhere. Watch, run. So we get this running the server. And then I'm going to come over here and do my CD front end. And then npm run dev. We got it on 3000, but we're still not, we do get data. I think I had just not done a save all. I really think that was the issue. When I closed out of Visual Studio, it told me, do you want to save these files? And I thought I'd saved everything. So anyway, yours was probably working. Sorry for the hassle. So what we have in here is 10 projects, and if I change this now to 5, what's going to happen? It's going to detect in this state that there was a change. We're watching it here in our dependency array to check to see if it changes, then we want to call this use effect again. And so when this changes, it should re-trigger this and we should pull new data. So let's see if it's actually doing it. So I say 5, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I say 20, just like that, I get 20 results. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Do we only have 15 projects in there? We might only have 15. I can't remember. Let's check just to make sure. So if we open up the database and I look at how many records, no, there are 25. Oh, but we're only, that's right. Why are we only getting that result? That's because we're only taking 20, but we've skipped 10 to get to those 20. And so there's only 15 left. Which leads us, what a great segue. That was on accident, but what a great segue into what we want to do next. We need to get to a place where we not only select down here in the app how many results, but what page are we on, so that we know how many to skip. Obviously, if we take that out, we'll get 20 results here, and we'd have 5 left to show, which means we need to have a methodology to get to that second page. So what would be a great thing to do is to take a minute to pause the video and see if you can do it. Well, at least get the page number set up, because it'll be the exact same thing that we just did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, I want to also track which page number we're on currently. And so it's going to be the same process. We're going to come in, create a variable to track the page num, and then to set the page num. And we'll use state, just like we did. What type of information is it? It's going to be a number. What's our default? Well, probably we want a default of page 1, right? And so we can set that to a 1. So we now can track the page number. Which page are we on? And then how do we get that information up to the server? Well, not surprisingly, we're going to use the request that we're making to say, give us the page number, but also give us the trying to make sure I know what I'm doing here. So the symbol that we use to say we want to do something else as well, and you've seen this when you go to URLs, is we use the ampersand. So we say ampersand, and then we say the next thing is going to be whatever we want to call it. Now, I called this page how many, but really we could call it page size to keep things consistent. But I wanted to prove to you the name didn't need to be different. But if I name it page size here, then on the .NET side, I also need to name it page size, right? Those names need to be consistent. By the way, do not name it page. From sad experience, that took about 6 hours of my life one Saturday trying to figure out why everybody's getting this error. So random, but page is a reserved word. So don't name it just page. Little tip. But this name here needs to match whatever is over here. And so same thing here. If I call this page num, that's totally fine. Even though the variable's named page num, that's okay to have those things be named the same. And page num is going to be equal to, same thing, $ page num. And now we're passing both of those pieces of information up to .NET when we make this request. So then what do we need to do on the controller side? We need to make an entry here and say int page num. Now these do not need to be in any particular order because it is trying to match names in this case. But it makes sense to put them in the right order. So int page num, and we can set the default here as well just in case something isn't passed in. So now I can say skip how many. Well, if page number is 1, where do we want to actually start? We want to start at, so if we said 1 there, and we were going 10 at a time, then that would be, sorry, in the skip, we're going to take what? We're going to say take the page, oh, now we have to change this too, because I changed it here. This would be the page size. How many are we going to skip if it's page 1? We don't want to skip any, right? If it's page 1, we want to start counting at 0, so to speak. So we're going to take whatever the page num is minus 1. So it's 0, right? So if this comes out, we don't, and then what we're going to do is multiply that by the page size. So if it's page 1 and the size is 10, it will take 1 minus 1, which will be 0, times 10, which is 0, skip 0, and then show 10. But if it's page 2, then we'll say take 2 minus 1 is 1, times the page size 10, skip 10, and then take the next 10. Does that make sense? So these are little logical problems you have to try and figure out. But that's how we're going to get it to do the right thing, right? Okay, so that's the way that we pass more information. The second thing, and we can pass a third thing and a fourth thing. We just use this URL that we're building to go make the request to the server, and we can pass anything that's not sensitive. Obviously, we're not going to pass passwords or other sensitive information, credit card numbers, whatnot, up through that request. We have different ways of doing that. Although this is different. This isn't going to show in the URL, and so maybe there are some things that typically would be sensitive as we navigate around an MVC that wouldn't be here, but you are still making that request to that address, and so you want to be careful about what information you're passing. All right, so now we can set a page num, and it's already highlighting it here. I was going to wait till later to do this, but it's saying, hey, you want to add page num here as well, because if page num changes, then we want to recall this use effect. And so I'll just throw it in right now since I'm seeing that error right there. So now both of those things are being watched in this array dependency for the use effect. Anything changes and they'll change. And so our trick now is what we need to work on next are these buttons, which we don't know how many buttons we're going to have. And that's what we got to figure out next. How many pages do we want? In the next video, we'll figure it out. Spencer out.